Alright everybody, Apple announced the iPhone 15 lineup and we know exactly what to expect, and in this video I want to give you guys 15 reasons as to why specifically the iPhone 15 Pro Max is worth every single penny. I'm not comparing it to last year, talking about it in a silo, but let's get into it. So let's talk about the design first, and the 15 Pro Max is going to feel a lot better in the hand compared to the ones from last year and up to the iPhone 12 because of its new curvature on the actual side railings of the iPhone. So it's going to feel overall more comfortable in the hand, no more sharp edges, it's going to feel relatively a little bit smaller just because of how it curves into your hand a little bit. But that is the first reason it's going to feel different in the hand, and that's a great segue in that it's going to be made out of grade 5 titanium, which means even though it's going to be a tiny bit thicker than last year's model, it's actually going to be about 10% lighter. So not only is it going to feel thinner in the hand and feel more comfortable, but it's also going to be lighter. And I know that the 13 and 14 Pro Max are actual bricks and they're very heavy, so the 10% lighter weight is a welcome addition, or welcome subtraction. And then to round off the design, let's talk about the colors and the railing. So the railing itself is going to be made out of that brushed titanium. So gone is a stainless steel, and from afar the stainless steel was always kind of like maybe a prettier version just because it was shiny and it felt kind of like luxurious and kind of like jewelry. But I think the brushed titanium is going to be a nice addition and a nice change up. It's still going to feel premium. It's going to make it lighter weight like I mentioned earlier, and it comes in 4 different colorways. We're going to have white titanium, black titanium, blue titanium, and then the natural titanium look, which is kind of like a combo between copper and silver, kind of more similar to that starlight color. So if you just look at the iPhone 15 Pro Max from the front side, you might not notice too many differences, but if you look at it holistically, you do see that it is a welcome change to the iPhone 15 Pro Max lineup. So the next few reasons are going to be all about that new action button. So if you go around to the left-hand side of the iPhone, right above the volume rocker, Apple replaced that iconic, mute switch that we've had since the original iPhone, and they replaced it with the action button. Now the action button is only available on the Pro and the Pro Max model. It is not available on the regular 15 and 15 Plus, something that you should take note of. The 15 Plus and 15 will still have the regular mute switch. But the action button by default will still be a mute switch. So you hold it down, you get some haptic feedback, and it's going to actually mute your phone or go back to vibrate depending on what your settings are. But the beauty of this action button is that you're going to be able to map it to a couple of predetermined kind of settings and applications that Apple has given us access to. So some of the ones that we saw in the keynote were the ability to remap it to the camera button, remap it to launch voice memos, to launch the flashlight. We also got the ability to launch the timer, to launch the translation app, and also launch the magnifier. So these are all kind of things that can be remapped natively by Apple. But two big reasons why the action button is going to be amazing is, number one is the ability to change it and map it to a focus mode. So if you go to work and you want to press the action button to go into work mode, you can easily do that. It's going to activate your work focus mode. Same thing goes for personal, or do not disturb, or your sleep focus mode, which I think is going to open up the door for a lot of different things to happen with that action button. But then lastly, which I think is going to open up a huge can of worms in a good way, is that we're actually able to map it to any shortcut. And if you guys are familiar with Apple shortcuts, then you know that that means you can pretty much do whatever you want with this action button. So you can map it to pretty much any application. There will be a slight delay when you do map it to a certain application, the same way that you would kind of create those custom icons, and it would be kind of like a small drop down and delay when opening those applications. But basically, if you can think it and create a shortcut out of it, you'll be able to do it with the action button. So I can see this kind of going crazy to open up Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, or you can even do some automations as well. So when you get home, you press it and then everything in your house turns on, or vice versa. So the action button, I think, is going to be the wild, wild west in terms of customization when you kind of pair it with Apple shortcuts. So action button, I think, is going to be awesome moving forward. So reasons number 8 and 9 are going to be all about that new A17 Pro chip. And this is the first time Apple's naming the actual chipset or the SoC with that Pro moniker. It's normally the A17 Bionic or just a regular A16 or something along those lines. But Apple kind of named this Pro because it's going directly in the Pro models and it's going to give you some Pro level features. So the big thing Apple was talking about was the increase in GPU performance. And what that means in kind of performance in everyday life is that you're going to be able to play AAA games and kind of really take advantage of the power that the A17 Pro is going to give you. Again, keep in mind that the M series chips that are in all the laptops kind of were born through these iPhone chips that Apple was kind of perfecting over time. So these things are going to be extremely powerful. Yes, it's going to be unified memory, unified storage, and kind of the unified GPU and CPU, but again, everything's going to talk to each other super efficiently. Performance is going to be next level. Apple kind of had a whole section talking about gaming and ray tracing, and It's kind of amazing. I mean, I'm not a big iPhone gamer to begin with, but I know a lot of people are, and it is amazing that we can get console level graphics and console level gameplay directly on your iPhone, which is just a small slab of glass that we carry in our pockets. And the ability to connect it to your PlayStation or your Xbox controller or an MFI controller just makes that experience that much better. And you combine that with the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is USB-C, and being able to HDMI that out to maybe another bigger monitor. Now you have a full-on game console just in the palm of your hand, which is an amazing thing. So the A17 Pro chip is going to unlock a lot of possibilities from a performance standpoint and from a gaming standpoint. And now that is a perfect segue to the next few reasons, and that is the new USB-C port. Now again, we're going to be talking exclusively about the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max because the USB-C port is a little bit different on the 15 and 15 Plus. But when it comes to the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, the USB-C port is going to unlock a bunch of possibilities. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that paired with the A17 Pro chip, this combination will allow for USB 3 speeds and USB 3 protocols. And what that means in the grand scheme of things is that we're going to get very fast transfer speeds of up to 10 gigabytes per second. Now for someone like myself who relies on using their iPhone to record this kind of video and then using AirDrop to move it to the iPad, this is going to be a huge game changer from a time and efficiency sake. Being able to plug in the iPhone directly into my iPad Pro and then transfer all that data directly to the iPad Pro is going to be a game changer from a speed perspective because I no longer have to rely on internet, Wi-Fi, and AirDrop to get that over, and I definitely don't want to rely on something like a lightning adapter to move all that data over just on USB 2 speeds. And now that USB-C port is going to allow for a bunch of USB-C dongles to be able to be used. So, think SD card readers, HDMI adapters, USB-A adapters, DisplayPort, pretty much anything that you could think of that works with USB-C will work with your iPhone. So all those dongles that you have for your iPad or those dongles you have for your old MacBook that still only have USB-C ports, they're going to work with your iPhone and you will be able to add a ton of peripherals to it, which is going to be amazing. And then another reason is because of that USB 3 protocol that we're going to be using on the Pro models, you now have the ability to connect your phone directly to, let's say, your iPad or your laptop, and then maybe if you're using the camera, in real time you can transport and transfer all that data and footage directly to the computer whenever you need to. So that opens up a lot of possibilities from a storage perspective. I can see a lot of manufacturers creating like external SSD storage space cases for your iPhone because if your app supports it. So for instance, LumaFusion supports being able to work off of an SSD, so does Final Cut Pro, but maybe being able to use that same protocol on the iPhone, as long as the apps allow that and support that, maybe you can use your iPhone as that external SSD, so you're working off of an external SSD, which is your iPhone on your iPad, and then things just become just that much more fluid and efficient. So being able to maybe use external storage in real time from your iPhone could present a nice situation where you can buy a 256 iPhone and then get like a 1 terabyte iPhone case that just lives on your iPhone, and all of a sudden you have a lot of storage for your iPhone and you won't need to rely on something like iCloud. You can just have a bunch of these cases laying around and transferring all your data to those cases or to those SSDs or even those memory cards. And now the last 4 reasons have all to do with that new 48 megapixel camera and the new 5x telephoto camera. So again, this is for the 15 Pro Max. Unfortunately, the 15 Pro did not get that 5x telephoto. But some of the things that you do get with this new camera array is we do get a larger sensor for that 48 megapixel camera, which is great. So more light, better f-stop. Basically, you're going to be able to allow more light in to give you crisper shots in more environments and have less variability overall. So always welcome addition to have a bigger sensor for that 48 megapixel shooter. Apple also introduced this new portrait mode feature because normally if you do want to take a portrait mode shot, you have to go into that portrait mode, obviously, to take that photo. But now even when you take a normal photo, you can then add that portrait blur after the fact. So you no longer need to be in this portrait mode, and it's going to be very smart in the way that you do it. And you can change focal lengths in the middle of it. So if you want to have the background kind of showing clear and then the foreground being blurred out, that's going to be possible and being able to be edited in real time from your iPhone after the photo has been taken. So that's a great new feature for the camera sensors. And then like I mentioned, we do have the new 5x telephoto lens. Apple didn't really talk about it being a periscope lens, but it is technically a periscope lens to allow for that 5x telephoto optical zoom, which is great. And that also gives us, I believe, up to 25x digital zoom, which I did check on the website, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So 5x optical zoom on the Pro Max and up to 25x digital zoom. Let's see how that compares with some of these other, Android phones that promise, 50, 80, 100x zoom and, being able to take pretty much pictures of the surface of the moon. Let's see how realistic it is and how it compares to the iPhone moving forward. But that is great to have with 5x telephoto. And then lastly, Apple kind of surprised us at the very end. They wanted to kind of talk about the Vision Pro a little bit and how the new iPhone is going to work with the Vision Pro. But now, because of how the camera sensors are set up, they can use the telephoto lens and the regular wide-angle lens to now take these things called spatial video that can then be viewed on the Vision Pro. So being able to take those photos and kind of this immersive, experiential type of video format that Apple, again, not many people have been able to use it quite yet. I haven't gotten my hands on it, but overall, I do think it's going to be a nice little feature. And I'm going to be curious to see how it looks on the iPhone itself. Is it going to be kind of like a 3D video, or is it going to be more so of that cinematic style video, that cinematic mode that we already have on the iPhone? It's yet to be seen, but once we get our hands on it, we'll definitely kind of play with it. And we will be getting the Vision Pro when it releases, ideally in early of 2024. But let's see when Apple actually releases that thing. But those are my 15 reasons why I think the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a great buy. I'm going to be picking one up. Color is yet to be determined, but one thing to note is that the new price point is $1199. Technically, it's not really different because it does start at $256, and last year's model was $1199 at $256. The only thing that's different is that they no longer offer the 128 gig variant of the Pro Max version. The regular 15 Pro will be available in 128 gigs at the same $999, but for the Pro Max, it starts at $1199 at 256 gigs of storage. But that's gonna do it for this video, everybody. Let me know in the comment down below, will you be picking up a 15 Pro Max? Are you picking up any of these iPhones? What are you upgrading from? I'm upgrading from a 13 Pro Max going to that 15 Pro Max. What color are you getting? What storage variant are you going with? I'm kind of debating between the blue and the white titanium or the, I don't know. They all look great to me overall, but definitely stay subscribed because we will be covering a lot of this stuff moving forward. We're going to have a lot of iOS, iPadOS, and macOS content coming real soon for the new updates. So if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin and definitely watch one of these next videos. But until next time, I'm Fernando. I'm out of here. Peace.